my friends, I'm Rick and this is your C17. And we got little Missy sitting over here in the box, and we're going to take a little dive into personalities and tech specialists for the game Not Traveled. Because if you remember, one of my event roles for a ship traffic arrival was an Imperium researcher. And I want to utilize this individual, so we want to do some basic, grunt work on it. We'll get our 400 different little notebooks out, because that's how we like to do stuff, right? And find one that works. Yeah. Never be sure what's what. Yeah. What is this? Oh yeah. Alright. Cycle 17. Air 16. So Imperium researcher. So first things I want to do is I want to go back to the section on personalities and find out which page that's on. Like I said, I came up with this damn game. I wrote the damn thing, and I cannot tell you what shit is on what pages. I mean, that's why we have pages, right? There's just too frickin' many of them. Oh, come on. Personalities, 96 to 103. Because we already have a template for them, which is what we want, I think. Yeah, we got the Imperium researcher right here. So first things first, let's go take a gander at creation. So we're going to do a genome creation first to see what we got to work with. And so, alright. Yellow's my 10s, and so 57, Derrit. Okay, gender. So, I have a caveat on gender, because this is where it will offend some people and piss other people off, and you know what? I don't care. Tough shit. What is the Floobs gender? It might not be as simple as male or female. With alien physiology, advanced medical sciences, and gene splicing is only the beginning. Aside from the traditional roles, the third mixed gender, she or he, has long been an accepted human gender in settled space. Unlike ancient times when medical practitioners called genetic aberrations, medical advances have embraced the genealogy variety of the nature has created and has striven to improve on the natural process. Genetically enhanced genders based upon the male, female, i.e. she and or he, and alien and or unknown, i.e. it, are things who there before birth were tweaked in order to improve their genetic DNA and or after birth to change the existing DNA into something more suitable to that person. Following are a few, but by no means an inclusive genetic enhancements that are commonplace adjustments when done to creating human DNA prior to conception, to increase superior intelligence, heighten reflexes, heighten physique, diminish the physique. Some people actually want them to be smaller, enhance charisma and beauty, racial modifications such as giving the genome the ability to breathe underwater or in toxic or non-breathable atmospheres, giving them pigmentation that alters their skin to make them more adaptable to sun environments, etc., etc. So that's what we're talking about here, is the possibilities of many, many genders, and not just two. That's the, well, there can only be man and woman. Really? There can only be. Tell that to the insect world. They don't agree with you. Alright, so 9 and 1 is 19. 19 is a male. So we have a male, Derrit. And then, of course, we have no name as of yet. Age. So age. So 21. is 51 to 75. So we'll just say 60 ranking. Now, ranking is a bit harder to do because while the Imperial researchers obviously should have a high standard of living, and because by definition what they are, they should have a much higher ranking. So our ranking here doesn't apply. We have to go by what's in order for them to be the researchers they are. They have definitely got more going on here. So we'll take a gander at this one for a minute. So, the multifaceted scientist, he has spent a lifetime becoming the top of his field and a master in several more. Imperium research is far more than mere science specialist. He may combine a level, blah, blah, blah. So, we have ranking, and the question is we know he's Imperial rank, so we know he's highly experienced. No, it's just how much experience. So, we have a number of levels here that's allowable. So, 0 and 2. So 2, he is going to be the Imperial grade. So ranking is Imperial grade, which he already is. But importantly, his points is 1,050. So for an increase in other stuff, his standard of living is set. So it says it must be a minimum of diamond quality, which means he's going to be expensive to hire. He is ranked as a Tech 6 scientist. Is that what I rolled up? I think it was Tech 7. Yeah, I have to go back and dig around and see if I can find it. I'm not going to spend the next 10 minutes trying to find it. Right. So, skills, he's going to have seduction and or diplomacy. So we will do odd, even. Odd is seduction, even is diplomacy, or seduction / diplomacy. Alright, so in addition to all this other stuff, he's got seduction, diplomacy, observation, interrogation. So basically, each one of those gives him a boost to if he's going to. So if he's going to engage in diplomacy, or he's going to negotiate with somebody, or he's part of his mission is to observe something, he gets bonuses for those because he has skill sets that are set in that era. Yeah, it says here. So you got level 6 scientists. So Tech 6 scientist. And then it says roll a secondary specialty at level 5, so Tech 5. So let's see if we can find that chart, which isn't going to be on that page. Yeah. Alright. So 77 health. Wasn't that convenient? Alright, so then the next thing, he's going to have third at Tech level 4. If he has a ranking of Imperial 1250 or 4, roll for 4th and 3rd level. So he has, what do we say, 1050. So he is not extreme, so he's not going to get a 3rd or a 4th specialty. But this is pretty good. He's got a, so he's a science. His primary technical specialty is being a scientist, and it's backed up by being a health specialist. So he's in health science research. I mean, that's what I'm getting out of that right off the bat. So then we'll see what this third one is. 64. So 64. The rate chart. Always important to check the damage. 64. I'm not making this crap up. It says frickin' aggro right there too. So remember, I get this virus that shows. And now that's convenient too. You want to talk about paranoid conspiracies? Think about that for a minute. Those Yahoo. So I get this frickin' event where this Yahoo stuff's. One of the events delivers some contaminated seed that screws up my food production by a huge percentage. Like 93% of my food production is basically wasted now because it's contaminated by this new seed that was brought in somehow. And so this means I got a massive problem for food production and demands on my planet. I mean, I got it met for the next couple cycles, but I have to figure out something to get around doing this. And so the same cycle that happens, I get this Imperial researcher who shows up, who has whose secondary specialities is health and agriculture. So I have an Imperial researcher who specializes in health and agriculture. I can't make this shit up. It's just the way the roles kind of play out. So we definitely want to tap into this individual and get his ass working as soon as possible and get a kind of fix for that stupid virus. So anyway, we got right. I think I did the skills wrong. Yeah, I did the skills wrong. So let's try that again. Skills. So we have diplomacy, seduction, which is technically is not, it's a feat, and it's your it's a stat, not a feat. It's got diplomacy, electronics expert. Observation, interrogation. Oh yeah, electronics expert slicing. That's what that caveat says. So he's not only a computer pro. He's not only a electronics specialist, but he can slice programs. He knows how to get in and get around inside the technology if he needs to. That's always a nice helpful thing. Medical care as in healing. So he's spent some time in some medical wing somewhere. And of course, science research. Now, keep in mind what I said in the past about dojos. If I wanted to, I really wanted to, I could take this man and put him, or this Derek, and put him in a dojo arrangement, a school setting that I concoct, and then start feeding low-tech specialists to the individual, and he could then potentially teach 4 or 5 different skills. He could teach these skills to somebody else so they would have advantages to them. In addition to that, he can teach the basics of his level. So in this case, he is a 5th level health technician. So he's as good as any standard doctor and basic surgeon when it comes to this sort of stuff. And so he could instruct a medic into becoming the beginning of a surgeon or something like this. I mean, he could take a Tech 1 and turn him into a Tech 2. So he could create medics. He could teach a medics class. I could be putting out 5 medics every cycle with this guy, or maybe 6. Or I could have agriculture specialist. I could have a medical specialist. So every one of these skills is something he can teach, and his 2 primaries he could teach. So just the possibilities of using this individual on that scale are pretty good. Immediately, his use for the house, though, is in the research facility researching crap. Because once again, it just occurs to me. Remember all the BS and effort I went through to get samples of that virus that's on the swamp planet that killed my first explorers that I sent there. Well, this is the kind of guy that would be quite conducive to researching a cure for that shit. Once again, the rolls came up random. I didn't make it up. I'm long past that because I've realized just how interesting, strangely connected things can be when this game operates in the way it does. It's just crazy. So I'll go on down and finish this up. Gear tech. So it's gear tech. Gear and gear and tech as equipment, that kind of crap has to be Tech 5. So if he has any personal equipment with him, got a computer, wrist computer, that kind of crap, it's gonna be Tech 5 or better. No, he's not coming with substandard shit. He's not bringing a shipload of trap with him either. So I'm talking his personal stuff, but also his requirements. So if he demands, if he wants to have, I don't know, this, I have to be able to convince him to use a lesser technology item because it's all we got, man. Until we can find you what you want, this is what you got. Make use of it, or you know, Brutus over here going to have a conversation with you, you fuck ass. Say wetware. Wetware is another interesting thing. Cybernetics and bioorganic implants in your body. Wetware. So most people of significant ranking in this game, if you've been around long enough, and if you're coming from rich enough environments, you're going to have chock-a-block full of stuff. And it can be very basic things. There are a lot of stuff that people would, you know, if you in the age of bad hearts would not exist in this era of humanity because the human body, genetically speaking, is not a secret anymore. So they can not only build you, you know, grow you a new heart, they can grow you an exact duplicate of the heart that you were born with, and minus the defect that caused the problem, right? And if that's not sufficient, then they just artificially construct an artificially organic heart for you. So they're going to construct the perfect heart for your body, and it's going to be made out of organic material. So it's going to be grown and muscle and sinew and blood and everything else because the technology exists and they can do it, and it's second nature. And if that don't work, worst case scenario, then they put an actual artificial cybernetic heart in you. At this point, they're putting the most finest, most delicate piece of technology humanity has yet to invent in your body, and it works flawless. Your part will work long after the rest of you stop working. Kind of put that together. So the possibilities of this stuff is great. The downsides are also just as great. So one of the downsides is the more cybernetics you install, the more crap you change in your physical body. And this is to be different. So this is not the same thing as I have to replace my limb because it got chewed off by a dog, or I have to replace my heart because my old heart, went bad. We're talking if we were going to give you enhanced strength, or enhanced eyesight, or enhanced speed, or enhanced intelligence, or things of this nature where the basic foundations and the functions of your body has now been altered forever. And in the process of doing so, you lose a little bit of what makes you a human being. So it's quite possible that if you get too many implants, your humanity can be reduced to zero. Then you would become a machine. And it's not necessarily a good thing, right? So there's some caveats for that sort of crap in there. It's possible. So in this case, though, this individual is going to have wetware. And this says they're going to have 5 at Tech 5 or greater. So I'll have to go back and have to look that up. So including Tech 7 neural implant. So one of the 5 are already determined. Now what the hell is a neural implant? Well, if you have to be a fan of cyberpunk, Shadowrun comes off to mind right off the bat. But more recently, this is a real technology, the potential real technology that's in its very infancy. But Elon Musk has come up, his corporations have come up with basically a way to implant a computer chip in your head. And so what we're proposing is, let's just on the most crudest basic level here. If you had, what if you could take your cell phone and your laptop and carry it around up here in your brain? That's basically what the basic concept here is. We're going to put a little computer chip, and that chip, saying it's a computer chip is a misnomer. I'm sure it's far more complicated, complex little gizmo than a mere chip. But they're going to put this little gizmo in you, and it's going to allow you to interact directly with the internet. So as long as you have internet access, you paid your bills, and you're running around the world, you can upload and download in your head. You can make phone calls. You can check your mail. You can pay your bills. You can do videos for your YouTube channel. All this in your head. Not sure exactly how that's supposed to work in translation, because there's a whole lot of other stuff going on there that not necessarily is going to be conducive. But this is how it gets started. So Elon Musk is at the very infant steps of this concept, and the fact is, it's a doable thing. So I work on the assumption that 1,000 years from now, humanity will have advanced in many ways, and genetics is just one of those many ways, and so is biosciences, so cybernetics and bioorgans. And when I term it bioorgans, so if you have an alien concept here, you have the ability to go out into the greater galaxy as a whole, and you have the entire galaxy at your fingertips. The sheer amounts of stuff that's out there that have yet to be even envisioned by us is staggering. So the real possibility of you finding plants and animals that are exotic from alien environments that have some kind of something in them that can be put in you that can make you better at what you do. And we see little bits of that now, where we take certain types of like take the heart from a pig kind of thing. There's some deep sea critters that they take shit out of too, that they can put in people that makes them helps them health wise and stuff. But it's extremely rare and experimental at the moment. But 1,000 years from now, that won't be experimental, and it won't be rare. It'll be commonplace, and the experimental and rare will be beyond our capabilities of even imagining right now. So in this case, that's what the wetware does. So in his guy, he's got the top of the line, because Tech 7, Tech 8, Tech 9, there's actually goes to Tech 10. But Tech 7, like a lot of things in technology, the hammer only improves to a certain point. At that point, there's no way to make a better hammer. The hammer is pretty perfect the way it is for what it serves its role. Is there ways to make different versions for different roles and different purposes? Yes. Is there ways to make, I don't know, a sonic hammer, or so you hold up a thing that looks like a pen and it hammers nails at a thought? Maybe. Could very well happen. And so from that perspective, this person has the irony for me would be is our house is tech level 1 because we just established it. So this individual has got so much more computing power and communications abilities and other stuff in their head than they can possibly tap. They can't utilize a tenth of what they have in their head, because the local infrastructure just doesn't support it. I don't have a big enough technical infrastructure to support that level of technology for the grander things. So when the Imperium warships show up, when the big cruise liners show up, and they bring their Tech 7 technology with them, and they're broadcasting their internet, their version of internet access for free Wi-Fi for everybody. The locals get to tap into that too, and if you have the means to do that for a brief window, while the Imperium's in town, you get cable for free, right? That's kind of how it would work. So over time, my house builds better communications networks, and more important, improves on them, and researches and develops our tech levels to bring it up on par with that higher level technology, right? And so the same thing goes in here when we look at wetware and things like that. 4 other sets of wetware. What the hell would this individual have? And at that point, I have to make some decisions. I either go totally remote, where you roll completely by yourself, or randomly, to get a completely random result, or you muck with it. And I tend to, there are times when I muck with things And I've gotten to where I just like to let things roll. Just go where it goes and see what happens, because it can take me into some pretty weird and interesting and really fun angles sometimes, right? So, all right. We might have to do that on a different video. I think we'll do that on a different video, because we want to kind of tap into that anyway. What I want to do is find out what the other 4 implants this fellow's got. What I mean by creative control. So obviously he's an Imperium researcher. Having him have body armor, and built-in dermal armor, and hidden lasers in his fingers seems crazy. Why would somebody like that have that? What would be the purpose for having those things? Now, unless I can justify it, say, well, in the in the process of his research, he has frequently finds himself, with alien life forms that are potentially going to, just gives him a leg up on the taking a physical abuse side of things and being able to defend himself. Yeah, okay, we could go down that route. Or maybe there's something else going on in his background. That's the stuff I like, because we'll roll randomly for these four additional implants. So technically, any one of them, they can have nothing to do with his career choices. Absolutely not. They can have absolutely nothing to do with it. And then we justify it somehow by saying, oh, well, in a previous environment, he needed to have enhanced strength, otherwise he couldn't function. Or, I know in his earlier years, he was in the service, and he served he served the Imperium or whatever. So, I mean, that's stuff that come down the road if it ever comes out and we want to know about it. Just possibilities, right? So, we have to come back and get those other 4. And at some point, and I think, like I said, here probably next weekend, if I think about it, we'll do a video on it. And that brings us to, we've already established his age, a plus 65 modifier on the age chart. So I rolled 60 and I add 65, so he's actually 125. Which, once again, this guy is an Imperium citizen. This person is coming from the best medical system ever existed, ever in the history of humanity, and more likely than not could live to be 400 or 500 years old. So at 125 years, he's still a teenager. I mean, he's fresh out of college. He's in his 20s. All right. Physically, he's going to look like he's in his 20s. He's going to act like he's in his 20s. He's going to think like he's in his 20s. But he's 125 years old, and he's probably spent 65 years of that 65 years of it learning his specialities and all this other crap. And special demands. So he requires his own R&D lab, a science deck, or a science prefab with a staff of 1d10 plus 5 tech 10 and 1. Geez. All right, so he requires his own R&D lab, or a science deck, or a science prefab with appropriate staff. And he wants to have a staff of between 6 and 15 Tech 2s, 1d10 and Tech 3s, 1 Tech 3, Tech 4, or Tech 5 specialists appropriate for what you deemed his field of research is. So in this guy's case, if I want him to research agriculture and health and agriculture related stuff, then I would assign him a agricultural specialist and a health specialist in that lesser category as his assistants. That's how that would be played out. So he's likely to have a staff of 30 to 40 people, between 20 and 30 people, and several of them are going to be fairly high up. Now the advantages of that is that they're learning from him. So at the end of the day, they benefit, he benefits, the house benefits. It all kind of goes around in circles. All right, so let's see. Yeah, right. So in this case, that's basically how this plays out. So the next video will be me flushing him out cybernetics wise, because we kind of want to know if he's got certain kinds of implants and stuff that give him benefits, and if they turn out to be research related or in his fields of relation, we definitely want every advantage we can get, because the better the higher he goes, the faster he does things. And there's some stuff to check into that because we also want to look at the research and development build itself. The R&D build, if you can plug in a Tech 5 or greater, I think, specialist and science specialist, increases the amount of lab space and reduces the amount of time. So this fella here could quite potentially, so it takes me 5 cycles to research something. So as an example, we want to research, in the case of the virus that now plaguing my agriculture, my agriculture is being fucked up by these bad seeds. So I would assign this guy to research that and find a cure for it. And it would take 5 cycles to get a chance at that cure. So you have to wait 5 cycles. Now, because of his being a high-level technical specialist, potentially that could reduce that to 4. And then because he's tied in with the R&D, and the R&D gets a bonus because of this individual and because of who he is, potentially reduces it to get another point. So then our research time could be 3. And I think research time could be developed down to 2. So potentially in the right kind of stuff. So what this guy specializes in agricultural and health-based research, and so with the right associates, the right assistants with him, I could then reduce my research and development time for medically based and agricultural based developments in this nature to 2 cycles per chance. Which means the chance of you getting this fixed is much faster and much sooner. You might have to keep going through that cycle until you get that positive, finally you get that positive roll for success. How many times did they have to research it? It took them 16 times to research it, but by God, we finally figured it out. That's how that plays out. But meanwhile, that was 30, at 2 cycles a try, that's 32 cycles of game time that the R&D lab is tied up on this one thing. Right, so you either expand your R&D lab and add more labs, or you find ways to get around it, or you learn to eat it and deal with it. So in this case, this is awesome because the virus on the planet and this deal with the seeds. Yeah, we definitely want his ass in there. See, now there's advantages and disadvantages too. He gets his most bang for his buck in the R&D facility. But because of his high levels of ranking and stuff, it's a high technical specialties, technically he could be the minister of my health and sciences ministry. I could put him in charge of health and sciences. I could put him into the number 2 slot for sure. The only thing that the bureaucracy has is they have administration stuff he doesn't have, because unless it's not a role, he didn't roll up it wasn't part of his accounted for skills, so he doesn't have he's a pure researcher, not a desk jockey. That's important to know the difference. There's a lot of people in academia today that's real speciality is not the research that they have they're credited for, but their paper pushing abilities in the office of helping keeping things running smoothly and all the increments that go with it. Anyway, I think this is an excellent addition to the house, and I look forward to figuring out how to tap his ass and put him in. So I think I'll definitely have to do a video on setting up the rest of get this wetware figured out, and we'll probably tie in because I need to do a video on those agranites too that we confiscated, because with the fruit production taking a hit real hard, I need to everything I can. So I need to plug this thing into the agriculture concern, show you how that works, and get that extra output coming out of there. And once again, look at the R&D lab, and because I'm pretty sure I have one thing that's pretty close to being done researching wise. There's the disadvantage too. The current R&D lab has 2. The R&D facility has 2 labs, and it can only research 2 different things at a time, per cycle, and it takes 5 cycles to get the chance at a dice roll to see if you're successful. So if this guy allows me to add a 3rd to that, because the R&D lab build says it does, that would be boom. So that would be the man's private R&D facility lab. And if so, when it talks about the other two caveats, the other two caveats is a science deck. This is a ship component that weighs about 100 tons and it's expensive as all F and get out. And it's based on its tech level. So you know, this guy's going to want the top notch. He's going to want Tech 5, Tech 6 or 7 version of that, which you'd have to buy from the Imperium at a god awful amount of money. And that would be basically Spock's wing in the Enterprise. You're gonna, you know, put a science deck on one of your ships, and it's going to have a lot of research capability and stuff, which limits it for other purposes. It makes it extremely valuable to you and extremely terrible when if something takes it out. You know, so there's disadvantages. And at this stage of the game, when I can count on one hand how many ships I'm operating, that's not something I can even think about doing. The third one is called a pod. Now, pods is just what it sounds like. These are prefabricated components that were manufactured in a factory somewhere, and you just assemble them on the spot. So in some cases, these are actually like cargo pods. These are containers that attach to a ship. So in the case of a science pod is just that. It's a science module that you can plug into any hardpoint connector on any ship you have that has enough mass push to support the weight of this thing. And that means temporarily you could turn just about any ship into a science ship if you needed to. So if I needed to go to a source to do the research on site, this is where you go. The other option for the pod is it's the most friendly for us smaller houses, is that pods are deployable. So what I mean by that is I can take a pod and take it to that swamp planet. If we could find a remote place on the planet that we likely not get harassed by the locals, we could set the pod up and set up a science lab literally on the planet, a temporary pod to go. Or science facility to go. We drop the pod, and then we drop a couple living habitat. In this case, we take a couple prefab Tech 3 prehab housing boxes with us, and you know, Fred Flint's or George Jetson the button so the building pops out of its box and inflates itself. That's the same thing. So boom, bang, boom, you got an instant research facility. Down the road, it's highly advisable. It's not. I found that it's better off in the long run to do certain types of research in a very isolated environment, preferably in space. If better, on an asteroid in the middle of nowhere. You know, so if necessary, you can shoot the lifeboats that are trying to escape from it, and call until the Imperium can show up and eradicate whatever it is that you accidentally released on the universe. Yeah. And some of these roles can combine into some pretty weird shit. So if you're going to do certain types of research, perhaps you want to do it in an extremely controlled environment. You know, I'm just saying, doing it on your capital planet outside of town is probably stupid. You've got options to not do it that way, right? I'm just saying. Anyway, this is me. You're you. That's Missy. She's ready to get out of her damn box. She's been in there for the last 3 hours. I've done a slew of videos today. It's been great. It's a holiday weekend, you know. We get on to we're getting into the rant stage. Managed to do this at the end of the damn video, not the beginning, right? I got my truck back last week, so its transmission's replaced and running good, and the PTO shaft gearbox had to be replaced too. That cost another $1,200 damn dollars, but it's flawless now. It doesn't make any noise when you turn it on. It used to make a bang noise every time you turned it on. Schedule-wise, I'm probably going to easily get 50 hours. I'm looking at pushing it as many hours as I get. If I can get closer to 60, I'll be happy. Last week, 35 hours to check. And it was $600, damn near $5-something, almost $600. But Jesus, my health insurance was $90. Health insurance that's worthless. It just staggers me. I'm paying $89 and some change a month for Medica, and it has a deduction of $7,500. So you can't go to the doctor on a bad day. You know, you got to be dying for that kind of deductible. You're not going to go. You're going to go to the doctor for what? Everything you got to pay out of pocket for it. I mean, I got to go for my lab work for my diabetes. I'd never get done paying it. I would never use it. It would have to literally be catastrophic. A catastrophic problem. At that point, we're filing bankruptcy because we can't pay any of it. So the only reason I have it is because the community county hospital near me has a program that calls Community Cares. It's funded by government money and donations and things like that. And it covers if you lose your job, for example, and you live in the county and you make under X amount of dollars, you qualify for this, and you have to know it's there because they don't tell you about it. You got to kind of stumble on it, and then you get in there and you apply for it. You have to, so the next month I'll have to go through all this bullshit again. I got to re-up for the year and get all them things, and so I can get this covered again next year. So at the end of the day, what they do is they pay that $7,500 deductible. So I have to have the insurance because they require me to have health insurance. And if I'm going to stay on the program, I have to have health insurance. And they don't tell you that either directly. It's like they can't tell you certain things. And I think that's the truth. That's to keep everybody from cashing in on it or something. So you go through the hoops, and they'll cover my expenses up to $7,500, and at that point, the insurance has no choice but to pay it. And so it still costs me $90 a month that they wasn't paying last year. So we're gonna get lots of hours. I have a couple appointments set for the wife to go to the doctors in the next couple of weeks. She's got her yearly neurologist appointment for epilepsy, and then she's having issues with her hand. And after the expense, we're still $600 in the hole from paying on the damn medical bills from her knee surgery back in the spring. I told her, I said, for the love of God, she qualified for the same shit I got, and she's got Medicare. I said, you're going to the damn county hospital. Her hands are aching and hurting her. And she's got arthritis and other issues going on in there, and they gave her some cortisone shots here last spring at her regular doctor's, through her regular doctor's office, and that cost us hundreds of dollars. If she can get it done out at the county hospital, it won't cost us anything. What Medicare don't pay, the community cares will cover the balance. So the downside is you got to deal with being a county hospital. Our county hospital's gotten really good. It used to be really bad. If you ever had to do anything, you just show up and went into the ER and got in line. Now they've got a clinic and it's separate from the hospital, and it's just a lot simpler, a lot easier, a lot normal. I think it's the word I'm using for. So yeah, I'm looking at a busy week. We need to time we got done. I paid my bill, and her prescription bill was $32. She has AARP prescription because she's on Medicare. She doesn't get Title D coverage for her prescription, so you have to have another insurance. See how it just never stops. These fuck asses just keep getting you. When our grandparents and parents they didn't have this shit back then. They didn't have a lot of the extra bills that we have now too. That's another reason why we can't get anywhere. We are literally paying 6 times or 10 times the amount of shit that our parents were paying, or let alone our grandparents. I mean, just look at you. I realized that the internet and cell phone, just between the internet and cell phone alone, we're paying over $200 a month for that. And my folks used to pay for a landline for like $30, and I don't think it was even that damn high. I think it was more like $10 or $15. We're talking back in the 80s and shit, right? So, cost you extra to have a landline now or some special deal. Meanwhile, we were able to qualify for heating assistance, thankfully, and that's $600 that they credited to our power bill. So our electric and gas bill for the next 4 months, basically, a little over 4 months, has been paid for by this charity group. And we're grateful for that. That's $126 a week or a month that we won't need to pay out for a few months. I've also, the next time I get a really decent check, I really need, if I get this 50 hours plus in, I'm likely to go check with the Verizon people, T-Mobile, whatever. They keep going on about this home internet system that you can get for $50. And I know 2 different people have one, and they seem to have no problems with it. That was my concern. I mean, I'd hate to switch over and find out it's worthless. So $50 a month versus $129. Paying $129 to Mediacom. I don't know if y'all know who Mediacom is, but in our neck of the woods, that's like the granddaddy. Used to be. They took over for AT&T. They dominate everything in the neighborhood, and until recently, we've seen a number of rival companies are putting in cable networks or wires and stuff that over this last year. A lot of that funded by our government's, infrastructure bills. Yeah, lots of people making lots of good money doing lots of jobs. Imagine that. Meanwhile, that's already had one of them come up to this and offer us $75 a month for 2 years, and it's fiber optics and regular cable lines, all that other crap. Well, this other wireless shit, it's basically like running off your phone. It's a mobile hotspot stuff at $50. But I can still do my videos and watch the stuff I watch on YouTube and not have a problem with it, then it'd be worth the $50. And in addition to that, because we found out through the county services that because my wife's on disability, she qualifies for a government disability thingamabob when it comes to her things like the internet and her phone. So once we switch over to this cheaper service, we then go to the government website and apply her. So we put the service in her name. The internet goes in her name, and then we apply for assistance, and potentially could get it reduced to $20 a month, from $129 to $20. So, how much of a profit margin does Mediacom get? That's what I want to know. They charge me $129, and about $40 of it's in a bunch of weird ass fees that I don't understand. And you can't get rid of them, you can't do away with them, and you can't live without them kind of crap. Yeah. How stupid are we, America? How stupid are we? How far down this crap have we gotten? I have to ask. Anyway, I'm starting to run off into a tangent on this. Better get it done. I've been in here doing videos since probably 9:30 this morning. It's going on 2 o'clock. So far, the wife and the cats have all been tolerant. So it's time to call it a day. Like I said, this addition to this technician, this guy's something else. He's definitely going to be a very big boon for my R&D lab. And because there's so much stuff. I mean, if you just look at the sheer number of blueprints for technology items that exists, take me scores, dozens and dozens of cycles to get most of the Tech 2 item blueprints done. Right? And then the more research labs I can devote to shit, the better off I am. I mean, I've already got some other things. We've made some discoveries and stuff we'd like to dig into a little bit more, but to do that, we kind of want to have the resources and the people to do it. And interesting how this plays out, right? So my R&D lab, so research and development, basically it's a small building that they threw up with a couple labs in it and some office space. And that is the heart and soul of my health and sciences ministry, is this one building, and probably half of it's administrative space, and the other half is a couple of crappy labs. Well, we want to build on that. We want to expand on it. The easiest, quickest way is adding higher technicians, higher people with skill abilities that elevate stuff. So by plugging him in, perhaps what he's lacking is administrative skills. So I can't really justify putting him in charge of the R&D lab, and I'm not sure I want to do that because it says the caveat is here is he gets his own lab, which means he's dedicated to being the scientist researcher that he is, in addition to supervising others. So what we're doing is he gets his own lab and he gets his own advantages. This means potentially I have a third R&D lab. I just have to figure out how to space it, how to house it. And then staff it appropriate. Of course, my R&D lab's staff goes up appropriate because I'm adding additional resources to it. But because of the higher level technicians being assigned to specific positions, including this person, it's going to dial down, right, the amount of time that needs to do stuff, but also the amount of resources people-wise, because they reduce. In the past, you might need 2 Tech 3s and 4 Tech 2s. Well, with 1 Tech 4, you can eliminate 2 of each, so you only need 1 Tech 3 and 2 Tech 2s for assistance. Meanwhile, let's see, what the hell is a Derek? Before I pop off this channel and get out of here. go on with the rest of my day. It's going to be a long day tomorrow. I'll be working off and on the whole damn day. Alright. So, there you at? First rules of common sense. Right? Alright. Venus Derek, right? Second one. A humanoid thing with vegetable horns and covered thick fur of varying shades of brown and black that cover their head, neck, and shoulders. Derrets have two sets of eyes, one that appear almost human, and a second that gives their cheeks a black shine. Second set of eyes allows them to see in the infrared spectrum, useful in their homeworld, Grandel, a cold, swampy world orbiting Goldilocks zone of trio of dwarf suns. Originally a primitive society with an Iron Age enhancements only when discovered, blah, blah, blah. Society based on clans, Derrets maintain a strong, complicated hierarchy among their own genomes, marking them as extensive tattoos that can only be seen in the infrared. For a brief period of time between the fall of the Third Grand and Glorious Imperium and the birth of the Fourth, Grando declared its independence from a devastated house, Armesia, and held it for nearly 2 centuries until the Duchy and its royal houses were strong enough. Its royal house was strong enough to reclaim the world. All right, so I don't see he's. Standard base, he's a true alien species. He's got the same body points as a human. He's medium size, height, average weight, all that in par with humans. One of the things that really leapt out at me was that, okay, genetically speaking, there's no guarantee this fella actually came from his homeworld. The homeworld where his species originated from has absolutely no bearing whatsoever on the individual. Because obviously he could have been born on a completely different world, on a different colony, in a different house on the other side of the galaxy, and his family could have been there for 20 generations, because that's how shit works. Or he could be from the original planet. So in theory, I could say, odd, he's from his homeworld, and, oh, what do you know? Let's just say I rolled an odd. So let's say he is from his homeworld. And so this homeworld is a swampy world that's dealing with all kinds of swampy ass issues. It gives him a little bit of an expertise in that environment. Then, if by chance, while I'm rolling up his cybernetics, he comes up with something that helps him survive in a swamp environment, you know, and there may be some stuff. It's like skills. If he had a skill in survival and it turned out to be a swamp environment, then they would automatically be able to apply that survival skill modifier for that environment to researching stuff involving the swamp world. So he's researching that virus on that swamp world, he would get another bonus, is what I'm getting at. The potentials are there, anyway, right? So, until next time, y'all have yourself a great weekend for sure. What's left of it anyway.